and skills. It says that with so many millions of the greatest, healthy, and skilled African people removed from the continent, the infrastructure was inevitable to collapse. I heard a professor compare the 300-plus year transatlantic slave trade to the equivalency of a 9/11 devastation occurring once a week through the span of the slave trade. And this is the devastation. This is the greatest crime committed against our humanity, and no reparations, and no discussion. Young men and women, you have much work ahead of you. You have a legacy that must continue. People often ask me, what is it like to be the daughter of Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz? I was raised proud to be of African ancestry, proud to be a Muslim, and proud to be a woman. My father often said, when you teach a man, you teach a community, and when you teach a woman, you raise a nation. So I often tell people that my mother married a great man. And likely, well, I won't go into that. I recall watching my mother's efforts working in the cause of human rights and empowering women in particular. I remember my mother participating in the International Women's Conference that was held in Beijing, China, shortly before she passed away. And writing my book, Growing Up X, afforded me an opportunity to reflect on her life as a source of inspiration and empowerment. My mother was just a young woman in her 20s, just a few years older than many of you here, when she witnessed the assassination of her husband. 1 week prior, on Valentine's Day, a Molotov cocktail was thrown into the nursery of her home, where my sisters and I slept as babies. When my father was killed, my mother was left traumatized, frightened, and alone. She was a young woman with 4 babies and pregnant with my youngest twin sisters. Now, by a show of hands, I'd like to know how many young people in the audience has 6 babies? Okay, so what does that say? That there are no excuses whatsoever. There are no excuses whatsoever. I've often asked myself, with 6 babies, widowed, and the wife of Malcolm X, the wife of a young man who challenged a government that had been historically unjust to its own people, how was this young woman, Betty Shabazz, able to overcome such obstacles and still raise 6 daughters and still dedicate her life to giving back to others and still earn a PhD? How? She never accepted no or I can't as an answer. My mother survived because of her faith in God and because she knew the importance of self-respect, self-esteem, and the understanding of history, true history, to empower her. She raised 6 daughters with the knowledge of true history as a means to develop our healthy identity and with an understanding of our obligation to others. My father, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz Malcolm X, was also only in his 20s when he burst onto the scene of the human rights struggle. A lot of us don't realize that a lot of these activists were just in their 20s, some of them in their teens. They were young, and they had so many more obstacles than we have today. He was only a few years older than many of you here. Now, let's put the time in proper context so that when we see